Hi, Isabelle. Welcome to the Women Waken podcast.
Hi, Whitney. It's so nice to see you. Thank you so much for having me. What a treat it is for me to sit with you and your audience and chat a little bit about all this beautiful stuff and inspiring stuff. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
It is a treat for me as well to have you on the show. Isabelle, you and I connected at the beginning of this year. We had met last year at the Lightworkers Tea, sort of a spiritual women's network, and had been trying to connect for quite a while because I was on the road and you're in Canada. So there's a bit of a time difference. But we figured it out and had such a beautiful conversation, and your work is so amazing. And we're just very attuned as far as our focus and a lot of our thoughts about the current times and what we're moving into and a lot of the energies happening. So I was so excited to have you as a guest.
I am so delighted that we were able to come up with a time like this. And I really agree with you. When we met right away, I felt the connection and all these things that we have in common. And I think one of the things that we have most in common is our heart and our light. And I love that. It is so nice. As much fun as it is to discuss with someone that has opposite views as us, because we learn to grow and all that, it is so wonderful to sit and discuss and grow and chat with people and women and beautiful souls that have the same energy. It's just a treat. So again, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So Isabelle, you are in Canada right now, and you run your own business from home, your own spiritual-based holistic business. You are a holistic life coach, an Akashic record reader, a naturopath, and spiritual guide.
I am. I am.
Awesome. Look at you. So fancy.
Well, I've been doing this a while. Yes. My clinic is now with my home. It wasn't always like that, but when my son was younger, I decided to homeschool him. So I don't know if you knew that about me, but I did homeschool. Like, I didn't even know what homeschooling was, but when he was born, I really learned about love and what we're ready to do for love. And so as he became older, I decided to homeschool. And I did that for many years. Then my son's father and I went our different ways. So I went into a new home and I rebuilt everything because it was like a very dark and difficult time of my life. And my son did not want to change, and he wanted to really keep homeschooling. So I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do that? So I did buy a new house. I did rebuild my clinic, and I did continue to homeschool my son. And he continued to homeschool till he was in secondary 2. So I think that would equal out. I'm not sure how it works in the States, but I think that would equal out to about grade 10. And then he wanted to go to school, so he was accepted in a sports study advanced academic program. So that was really cool. And now he's graduating this year. And my clinic, I still work. I've just reopened that because of everything that's been going on. In the past 2 years, it was temporarily closed because we had so many rules and sanctions and everything that we had to think about and do and process. It was just really too much. I felt it was too much for me. So I temporarily shut it and brought everything online. So I was doing everything naturopathic and homeopathic and life coaching and etc. online. But all the services were kind of put on the back burner. So this week I was like, okay, I'm done. So I went ahead and I reopened the clinic, and I haven't had any clients come in yet because I think I did that yesterday. Yeah, or maybe on the 22nd. I'm not sure, but I know I did that this week, and I'm really excited about growing that part of my life up again. It's going to feel wonderful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, sounds like an exciting period that
Mm,
you're entering into.
definitely, definitely. Yes. Very excited because having the virtual conversations is absolutely wonderful because we get to connect even though we're far apart. You are in this beautiful sunny place, warm and sunny, and I'm here in Canada and it is so cold, so snowy. So virtual is wonderful. And having the hands-on working in the clinic as well is just wonderful, just wonderful. So I'm very happy that I've chosen to reopen it up again.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And Isabelle, do you think you could speak a bit to, it's fairly unique that you're in Canada. I haven't
Mhm.
had any other guests from Canada, and you're one of the only people I know there. What's it been like? As much as you'd like to share it, we all know there's a
Mhm.
lot going on. As you probably are
Yeah.
aware, we went through the two, all the
Oh,
two portals, and right
oh,
after that, this stuff in Canada is happening. We just had Russia invade
yes.
Ukraine. So there's a lot going on in the world that we knew was
Yeah.
coming. There's stuff
Yeah.
that's coming up. The US Pluto's return is occurring, which is,
Yeah.
where we come up with all the underworld stuff. So
Yeah.
there's that energy, but Canada's been feeling it pretty powerfully. And as you said, we know Canada as this friendly, happy place.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's a little different to what we've seen. So what has it been like for you being there, as much as you'd like to share?
Yeah. It has been definitely an awakening. So I'm sure you've heard the terms. Like I honestly thought I was super awake and seeing very clearly. And I obviously was able to take off another layer and see much more clearly. For sure, we've often been considered the Switzerland of this continent. And I definitely thought it was like that. And without going into too much details, it has been the scariest few days of my life. Let me just stop that. I apologize. It has been, well, we had the Emergency Act open up in Canada, which is the war measures. So, and Canada is known for being open. You're allowed to speak your mind. You're allowed to be. And there was a manifestation in our capital city, and it was very passive and friendly and loving. And without going into too many details, the government declared that we were going to have the Emergencies Act on. So that pretty much gave them authority over everything, seize property, go into bank accounts, personal bank accounts, limit insurance on cars, on houses. And it became a very, very dark and scary time. That lasted 48 hours for unknown reasons. They decided to take that out. So it's kind of been up and down. So it's a little bit like a living with a person that you don't ever know what's going to set them off. So it becomes crucial to really ground in the present moment, to really listen to our bodies and rest, and really to take time out for deep breaths, meditating, raising our vibration into the light, to stay connected to that, because it is incredibly easy to go down the dark rabbit holes. And like a lot of Canadians have never ever experienced anything like this, just because it's such a a friendly, loving society and place. And, you're always welcome. Everybody is happy. And, when you want to express yourself, you say, excuse me before and excuse me after. And thank you before and thank
So
you after.
polite, so happy.
Yeah.
All right, it's like there's our happy, clean, well-adjusted, friendly neighbors to the north is how we think of
Yeah.
it. So it's been
Yeah.
surprising for all of us. Yet again,
Yeah.
there's so many shifts occurring that I think it's a time to expect the
Yeah.
unexpected, I think is a
Yeah.
good phrase of term here at this time everywhere.
What I love, one of the things that I loved that I heard is Canada has never had to fight for their freedom. It was always given to them. And now it is time to stand up for it. So personally, one of the transformations that I went through was like what I was saying. I thought that I was using my voice and stepping up, but I really wasn't. It has really taught so many of us, me too, the importance of being real, being authentic, and standing up for what we want, what we think is right, and creating the life that we want to lead, creating our legacy, and just supporting what's important for us in our own life, and realizing how health, not just physical health, but emotional resistance and mindset health, how all of that is important. And if you did not have a spiritual practice, most people do now. Most people do now. So yeah. And I love that it ties into everything that I have done up to this point in my life. I hadn't realized how guided, I guess, I had been throughout my life to really dive into these subjects, but I see now how helpful it was that I knew and had these tools, and how I've been able to share and support other people around me, other groups, to just be able to align and feel better and feel hopeful. Yeah, hope. Love that.
Yes, we always love hope. Hope is
Always love
important.
hope.
Yes. Wow. Well, Isabelle, you are going through something very remarkable and something that, very scary. So thank you for sharing with us and kind of giving us some insight, because it's, also right now we're hearing a lot about a lot of things going on in a lot of different places, and it's hard to really understand. And so getting that insight and staying connected is so important.
So important.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Now, you hit on a few things that I liked, because from what you were saying, what I was getting is that sometimes it's these times where things are kind of coming up underneath there's things that are unknown and unpredictable. And that's when we will be sort of pushed out of our nest in terms of seeking out, okay, my day-to-day life is being disrupted. I'm seeking out, I need more guidance. I need to forget, like, if I'm going to show up to work at 9 a.m., I need to know that, like, who am I as a being? And sometimes it's not until we have these tumultuous events that we really dig into our spirituality and say, well, who am I actually, and what matters to me, and what are my beliefs about life? Because as life as we know it begins to sort of fall apart, which is what's kind of happening, like the illusion and sort of the realm of life that we've come to know, our systems are breaking down because they don't work for us. They don't serve us any longer. And as we know, it's the cycle of transformation, death and rebirth, like Kali Ma, the goddess Kali Ma, she, breaks down systems so that the new thing may come through, but there's destruction in that, in loss.
Yes.
And that's what we're feeling all over, because an era is coming to an end of the way that things have been. And people will be seeking spirituality more than ever, because that's what's underneath the structures. As structures fall, you recognize that the thing at the bottom, the root, is your spirituality, is your essence and beliefs about who you are, what your values are, what's important, and the true nature of life, and the true nature of you. So,
Yes.
and that's why I'm a big believer in having, having this show where we speak to things that some people might brush off, but eventually soon, I think more people are going to say, well, wait a minute, what are these people talking about? This is actually kind of interesting and intriguing, because these are concepts that I've never considered, but now seem more important as life is changing. And people it's scary. This type of change is scary. When the nature of life as we know it changes, it's terrifying for most people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like having, the not just the rug, but the entire floor pulled out from under us. And before anything else, we are energetic and light beings, and we are put in these bodies. And when we are just doing our normal stuff, day-to-day stuff, we forget about all the energetic stuff, and we think about just the material and the physical stuff. Yes, like in the work that I do, one of the pillars is physical health. So you need your body to support you through your life, so you can bring your vision to life, so you can create a legacy. Yes, super important. But we are so much more than that. And sometimes we get kind of comfy in the spot we're at, and we don't necessarily want to grow past that. But when we're, like you said, pushed out of the nest, literally two hands, boom, pushed out of the nest, then we realize it's really important to kind of work our wings regularly. So when that happens, we can have a soft landing and know exactly where we want to go, and not just like, boom, land on our heads.
Yes, we prefer not to do that.
No.
We're not to do that. So that's a good segue into talking about some of the main components of your work, Isabelle. And I love that, you kind of start out with defining what does natural mean and what does holistic mean? And I think those are great concepts to explore, because those terms are thrown around so much when you get into anything, sort of more, naturopathic, homeopathic. And it's like, but wait a minute, what are we talking about here when we talk about what is natural, what is holistic, what does it encompass? So I'd love to hear you kind of break that down for the audience to get, okay, so if I want a more holistic approach to health, what does that mean? If I want to have a more natural life, what does that mean?
Okay, so let's break down those two words to start off with. I even brought a little diagram. So if it is just if we're just keeping it as a podcast, then I will guide you through it so you can make a mental image of it. And should it become visual as well, you'll be able to see it. So first, let's talk about natural. Did you want to say something?
Nope, I was gonna say you're right. Yeah, this might be this video will be offered on YouTube. So, but for those listening, we'll just describe what.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Just to make it really simple. I'm very visual, so that should be pretty easy. And I think you're also a visual, right, Whitney?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about natural. So natural comes from nature, right? So it is turning yourself towards nature and using what is already there and accessible to really bring in well-being, not just health, but well-being. And it is understanding your body, understanding what it is communicating to you. So the body has a language, right? And just like if I spoke French to you, if you know French, you'll understand me perfectly. If you have not, you're going to be, what is she saying? But I'm still communicating. So the body acts the same way. So it is bringing the body, but also the mind, also spirit, also the emotions, and using what's there in nature just to bring it together to make it strong. So when we say nature, so let's say, Whitney, you came for a consultation because let's take something very common nowadays. So let's just say anxiety. Lots of people are struggling with anxiety. And yes, it gives, emotional symptoms. It can give mindset symptoms. It can also give physical symptoms, right? So some people that struggle with anxiety will develop a rash or ulcers in their mouth, or sometimes they're going to lose their hair. It really can be physical as well. When we talk about nature, we're going to look at remedies that are offered to this person, that are easily accessible, that have minimal side effects, and that are in their natural source. So I would be thinking about plants. I would be thinking about herbs. I would be thinking about vitamins. I would be thinking about minerals. And sometimes we'll want to take those vitamins, minerals, or specific components right from the source. So that means instead of taking a tablet, we're going to find it in specific foods, or we're going to, extract it in a juice to go get those elements. To that, we're going to add some natural modalities, that things that can be like EFT or Reiki or the Akashic realm or something like that. We will create both of these things together. So it brings in an added support system, but at the same time minimizes any secondary effects. So when we talk about natural, we're talking about items, we're talking about things, we're talking about modalities that are easily accessible. Now, should I jump in right away to how it ties into holistic and what that means?
Yes, get into it.
Okay. So holistic really means going beyond the symptoms. It means all of you. So if I take again this example where you come for a consultation, so let's say the reason you're coming to see me is because you have a rash on your skin. We don't know what it's caused by, but in this example, I was saying anxiety. So we're not even there yet. But if I were to take you just on the symptom itself, right on the rash itself, then I would offer you remedies that have to do with a rash for your skin, techniques just to make your skin better. But if I go the holistic route, I take all of you. And here's my cute little diagram. Okay, so there's another one right here, but you can't see it because it's white. So the diagram that I am sharing with you, it really comes from traditional Chinese medicine, where we work with the 5 elements of nature. And this is super easy to find. You can just look it up, Google it up, and you'll find it. And just to make it easy for you, for those listeners that are here on the podcast, I'm just going to kind of draw you a picture. So at the top, you would have a circle there that is fire. So that would be equal to noon, for example, on your clock. Around 3 o'clock, around 2 or 3 o'clock, you would have the earth element. Around 5 o'clock, you would have the metal element. Around 7 o'clock, you would have the water element. And up here, you would have the wood element. There are different ways of naming these things. Sometimes we use the gondolar type names for them. Sometimes we'll use just the gland types to name them, and they're all the same. So when you see a drawing like this with the 5 elements, That refers to traditional Chinese medicine. And inside, you have arrows. And I'll explain to you the arrows. And this is like the very basis of how we work with traditional Chinese medicine and how I learned naturopathy. So everything goes into these 5 elements, in these 5 spaces. Every ailment, every type of person, every organ, every gland, every symptom, every plant, every vitamin, everything gets put in these elements, right? So if you tell me that you are having, let's say, we were talking about skin, but let's get a little bit more specific just to make it easy for us. So let's say you're telling me that you have trouble with your liver, right? So the liver itself would be in the wood element, right? But what you're describing to me, the symptom that you're describing to me is in the wood element. So the symptom is here, but not the cause, right? Not the cause. So if I work on the symptom alone, that is like putting on a plaster on whatever the ailment is. But if I don't address the root cause, and this is where the term root cause comes from, if I don't address the root cause, then I might be able to heal that symptom, but it's just going to go somewhere else and come out a different place. It's like using a different word. So if I use a word in French that you don't understand, I'm going to use a different word that makes a lot of sense so we can communicate. So if your body is trying to tell you something through your liver and you're not listening because you don't understand the language, and if you put on a plaster, it's just going to go, okay, I understand that you're not getting what I'm saying, so let me present it to you in another way. And then that's when another element at a different level comes through. But if we're able to go to the root cause, if we're able to look at the person in a holistic manner to go beyond the symptom, support whatever is happening in the symptoms. So like if something is burning, we don't let the person keep feeling that. We'll address it. And we'll go work on the root cause as we support other levels, mindset and spiritual guidance and emotional resistance and all that. So that's how the holistic and natural, as well as the 4 pillars, tie in together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely.
That was a big bite, eh?
Yeah, but it's a good bite. It's a delicious bite. It's a bite with all the different pieces all included in one big bite. No, that's beautiful. Yeah. And because I think that that's such a part, to me, that's what I think of when I think of holistic and naturopathic, is it's taking the whole picture into account, is it's actually looking at not that quick fix, but the actual essence and root of what's going on and what's actually sort of the epicenter of an issue, so that we don't just kind of, like you said, put the plaster over it and have a nice immediate relief, but then it comes right back.
Yeah.
And it, it's, you said, if our liver is trying to tell us something, it is interesting to think that our body is trying to talk to us all of the time.
Yes.
And yet we have such a hard time listening to our body. I do as well. I'm going through some significant health issues right now. And it can be really challenging to not just think, I just want this to go away. What's the quickest thing I can do to be totally all better? But you have to realize that it's, our body is acting on environmental factors, but also emotional factors are, what we're putting in our bodies, what we're surrounding ourselves with, energetics. There's so much involved. And so I'm actually having a very sort of humbling moment where I really just have to sit back a little and kind of surrender and say, okay, I need to listen to my body, because in
Yes.
my 36 years, I have not always listened to my body, and I've put my body through a lot.
Mm.
And so it's a time where I'm having to take that more naturopathic path and say, okay, I have to do some of the more, dive a little deeper, dig a little deeper to see
Yes.
what's really going on, because maybe there are some bigger changes to be made than I realized.
Yes. We are such amazing beings. And like we were discussing, I think before we actually got online, you and I were talking about how we are energy and we are light and we are put in these bodies. That's what being embodied means. We are more than just our bodies. And I love that you said that, Whitney. It is so important to treat the immediate so you can have relief right here and right now and go and just, sit back. But when we sit back and have a breath, what we really want to do is really tune into those deeper, that deeper knowledge and that deeper understanding. And just like any new language, we need to practice it. And there are words that are going to come and we're going to be like, I never heard that word. That is completely new. How come I didn't know this word? And then you need to look it up and you need to, put it in a sentence and just play with it. So if it's a new symptom that your body is telling you, and you've never had that. And honestly, I'm older than you, Whitney. So like going through changes, hormonal changes, there are issues that come up or that have come up. I would say in the last 5 years that I have never, ever had to deal with. But if we, calmly take care of the obvious right away. So a plaster can be a good thing if you have this beautiful little ointment and, taking care of it. And not just say, I'm going to do this and that's it. It's like, I'll take care of that and I will look deeper and find the root cause so I can address it. Because it could be right here, right now, physically. It could be right here, right now, energetically. Or it could be, it could date back from when we were children. It could date back even before then. When we examine our timeline, it can go back quite far. So sometimes there's some healing that we've brought into this lifetime that we need to take care of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that can be hard to sift through and identify what is going on and how to address that,
Yeah. Yeah.
explore.
I definitely encourage everyone. I find it's a little bit like cleaning your home, right? So if you do a regular cleanup, and it doesn't have to be your home, it can be your car, it can be your agenda, it can be the pictures on your phone, just anything. If you always keep your space, regardless if it's inner space or outer space, clean, then it's easy. If something happens in that space, it'll take a little bit of time and attention, but not like if you've never cleaned your space before. So if you've never cleaned your space before, it's time to start, right? You want to be empowered by that and say, I'm starting now. And if you have, then it's just knowing, okay. It's just something new. I don't know what it is, but I am going to love myself through it. And I look beyond the surface, find the cause, and just say thank you to my body. Thank you so much, body, for telling me what I needed to know. And I will do what you're telling me to do and feel even better and stronger and wiser. So it's just a win-win scenario.
Yeah, that's very encouraging and so important, I think, for people to hear. I mean, we just never know when something, we're used to our body as a system, it's an engine, it's, you know, it's a vehicle, it's so many things. And so we're used to being able to depend on it like a car, like, okay, it's going to be fine. I can go through my day. And so when it kind of breaks down in any way, it's, you know, it's very alarming, distressing, and unexpected. You know, we kind of think that it won't. And, you know, I just recently heard from a friend who, got diagnosed with breast cancer, and and you know, she said it, I thought I was a healthy person, and it was just the last thing I expected. And I think that's the way we all feel is, wait, this can happen to me. I hear about this, but this is actually happening to me. How do I, you know, how do I face this? And I think that using it, just like you said, is an opportunity to sort of grow your relationship with your body, grow your understanding, and come out better for it, you know, and believe that. And I think that's the hardest part that I'm struggling with now, is staying in a positivity mindset rather than a helpless mindset, or, you know, distraught or hopeless mindset, where you think, how am I going to, you know, if this doesn't change, how will I deal with this? What will I do?
Yes. And definitely they don't feel the same in the body. So, you know, if you're not just you, but anybody listening, and I do it too, you know, sometimes we kind of go down that darker path, and it's okay, because we're human beings, and we can use that darker path to give us contrast. Okay, I'm here on the darker path. This is not what I want for myself. These are not the thoughts that I want to keep. And from that, we can go somewhere else. If it would never rain, how would we grow anything ever? How would we appreciate the warmth and the sun if there was never any clouds or, you know, storms outside? So it is, I don't believe that it is a question of never going down a dark path. I believe it's a question that when you're there, taking a moment to really praise yourself and love yourself and say, oh my goodness, I am so thankful that I have come down this path and saw the dark, because now I know where I don't want to be, right? Creating contrast.
Yes.
And that mind shift, that little tiny mind shift, can change everything. And I love what you spoke about the car, because some people take better care of their cars than they do their person.
Oh, big time.
So if you're going along and the car gets a flat, people don't keep rolling. They might just a little bit, but to pull over, they're going to call in some reinforcements and they're going to fix the problem. But when it comes to their body, they expect so much, and the body offers so much. But if it breaks down, then it is important to pull over on the side, call in reinforcements, and change what needs to be changed so that you can, you know, feel empowered and strong in your body again. And a diagnosis like that can definitely throw someone off. And that's why I think I really love working with the 4 pillars. That is the other part that I work all the time. So it's exactly the same as we were saying. It's like the 5 elements. It's like holistic. It's the 4 pillars of well-being. Physical health is only 1/4 of that whole. We also have emotional health and spiritual health and mindset health. So even if you get a very disturbing diagnostic, you still have those other 3 pillars that can help you come back on track. If your emotions go to the dark side, you still have the other pillars that can pull you back. So for example, if a person wakes up, and I am not saying that there is no room if someone is struggling with depression or anything like that. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, you know, just feeling balanced, and then something happens and we're thrown off our game. I know here in Canada, I got thrown off my game plenty in the last 3 weeks. I stepped into my physical pillar. I ran a lot to help me find peace and serenity again. So I relied on that. I relied on my spiritual pillar to help bring back my emotional pillar, to bring back balance to that one. So I definitely encourage you all to use the 4 pillars all the time, every day, and in every situation, because you're more than just your body and more than just your thoughts, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, of course. And that's why, I reached out to you when I looked over the 4 pillars and I said, "Oh my gosh, Isabelle, I'm so excited we get to talk about this," because it just hit me so much because again, dealing with health issues recently, it's I used to more think of focus more on like mental and emotional, and I would talk about physical, but to me physical was about just moving your body. And now I'm thinking more about like, oh, what if your body's not operating right? What if you can't move it in the same way? You have to actually dive deeper, and you have to look at these other parts and see how is each part helping one another, and what's the status of each of those pillars. And so
Yes.
it's just it's also a good reminder when you're not feeling great about yourself in a certain pillar, to realize like that's not all you are. And I
No.
would say that as human beings, we tend to focus maybe primarily on the physical, especially with how we're regarded and what's
Yes.
most important.
Yeah.
And it's important to see, well, I'm also a mental being, an emotional being, and a spiritual being, not just a physical
Yes.
being. And that those, we can always work on those and let those shine. And maybe some of our greatest assets and gifts are within those pillars. We have gifts in every single one, but when we're
Yes.
feeling, this detriment because maybe our physical health is compromised or our physical appearance is compromised, how do we learn to get to know those? Because I think
Yes.
that a lot of people, again, when physicality is compromised, they feel like they've lost everything because they're not that
Yes.
connected with the other 3 pillars. They're not that attuned to them. They don't see the value or really even have any much knowledge of them.
Yes.
And so I think that if more people came to see themselves as this sort of 4-part being, each of those, that it would be, there would be greater resilience and greater peace rather than feeling, so distraught or helpless when something happens.
Yeah. Well, we've seen so much of it already start to change with the divine feminine rising, with the what we're calling the awakening. People are just going, I've never thought of that. And sometimes, like I was saying before, the body doesn't usually come in with a big boom, this has happened. It usually comes in with just a little tap, 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 tap. And when the person doesn't listen, then they may use like 2 fingers or a couple fingers, tap, 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 tap. And if they're still not paying attention, listening, well, they might, start to push a little bit strong. The body just wants to be heard because we need our body. This is this life's vehicle. So we need it to live and reach our goals and to bring our gifts to the world and to lead and live, give a legacy, bring that legacy to the world when we pass into the next phase, the next life. We are given this body, so it's important. Just like, see it like you're driving your car and those lights come on. So if the lights come on, that's kind of the body tapping. If you put your hand over it, or you take a Post-it and you put it over the light so you don't see it, it doesn't make the body of the car go better. It is just us not paying attention. It makes me think of when I got separated. I wasn't aware that we were separating. One day I thought everything was great. And then the next day we were separating in my with my son's father. I wasn't aware. So when I went to see my lawyer, she said the laws here in Quebec are different from laws other places. And if you're not married and things are not in your name, they don't belong to you, even if you pay for them. And I remember telling her, I didn't know. And she answered one of the roughest things I have ever heard in my life, but it has stuck to me all these years. Ignorance is not an excuse. Can you imagine? I was like already beaten down and she says that to me, but I understand. If I choose now to put like a post-it on the dashboard of my car and I choose to ignore it, then it's my fault for ignoring it. The nice thing about that is if I choose to ignore it, I can choose to do something about it. I never give that power away again. So when she told me that, I did get a little bit upset. And then I said, you know, you're right. I was ignorant about that. I wasn't informed. I will never not be informed again. So I used that. I brought it back to me. So even if someone gets a very negative diagnostic, it's not the end. It's the beginning. It's the beginning. It's saying, never again will I be unknowledgeable or ignorant about my body, not knowing about my body. I'm taking my power back. So it's just kind of a different way of looking at it.
Yeah. And it's always good to have a different perspective and a different view to change
Yes.
our views.
Yes.
And perspectives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like you were saying before, that we have the other areas that are helpful as well. And I think there's more and more and more people that are growing the spiritual pillar of it all. And for sure, when I work with women, for sure, it is never just in one pillar. It just doesn't work that way. Women will come towards me for one pillar to start off with. But you can't stay just in one pillar because there's the cause, just like this drawing of the 5 pillars, there's arrows inside. You can't see them, but there's arrows pointing and there's arrows all around as well. They go this way and they also go this way. So they point to the cause, they point to a symptom, they point to other areas that will have a reaction. So maybe one of those pillars need to be grown a little bit. For sure, in our day and age, the spiritual pillar is growing. Definitely growing with the divine feminine rising, definitely growing, and we love that.
Yes, absolutely. And it's the future, you know, it's where we're headed, thank goodness, because we've gone so long without.
Yes.
You know, without that spiritual rooting, that focus on a spiritual pillar. We ironically, we've kind of made the spiritual part like, well, a lot of people are like, oh, it means nothing. It's mystical. Yeah. It's BS. It's nothing.
Yeah.
But my belief is that it's everything. I mean, there's nothing without what we are as a spirit, as an essence. Everything else is just kind of an illusion that we're creating for our spirit to have an experience. That's just what it is. In my view, you know, I don't want to.
And I agree with that view.
Yeah. And so I think that, but you know, I know when I work with clients, those who don't really identify as spiritual, that it can at least agree that their world is made up by their beliefs and their values and their, you know, what's most important to them. And that's
that spiritual. So let's just talk a little bit more like about that spiritual. Um, it's I find spirituality. We can call it spirituality. We can call it karma. We can call it light. We can call it the Akashics. We can call it all of that. And it's pretty much like air. You can't see it, but you can't live without it, right? So if we tie it with that particular pillar, spirituality can absolutely hold us up when or if any of the three other pillars kind of take a hit. The spiritual pillar is like the metal rod in our embodied life. And there's a lot of discussion about karma and what it is. And my belief on karma is karma equals Akasha. So the energy all around us. And we really build our karma minute to minute to minute. So what I think, what I believe will influence what I think. I know, I'm sure you've heard that before. What I believe will influence what I think. What I think will influence how I feel. How I feel will influence how I act, and so on and so forth. And how I act, how I think, how I feel influences the space, I'll call it space, around me and in me. And I am gradually building my karma, for example, for tomorrow. So if today I'm resting, I'm listening to my intuition, I'm listening to my body's needs, I'm offering myself kindness and love, I'm feeding my body well, most likely tomorrow when I get up, I feel pretty good. I might not feel great, but I'll feel pretty good. And so I'm kind of building my karma for tomorrow. And inversely, if I do all sorts of yucky stuff today, chances are possible that when I get up tomorrow, I might feel pretty crappy. So if we just kind of stretch it out for lifetimes and different embodiments and different lifespans, it becomes karma. It also becomes what is known as the Akasha or the Akashic. So a lot of people with that word know the words Akashic Records, but that is just one part, right? So just think of it of like saying banana. When you buy a banana in a food mart, a banana is found in the fruit section of the produce section in a food shopping mall. So the Akashic Records, you'll find your records in the library, in the space of the Akasha, and the Akasha is all around and inside of us. So it's like the wind. You can't see it, but you can feel it, and it's all around you. And the Akasha is that energy. It is all knowing, and it has all of our information, not just ours in this embodied life, but ours as a soul. And there are different parts of the Akasha. So I'm not going to get into that part because it can be really big. You have your room, and you have your temple, and you have the other beings, and you have cities and all that. But most people know of the Akashic Records, and more specifically, your soul book, right? Which is comparable I don't want to minimize the Akashic records and say it's like a banana, but it's just to give the comparison. I don't want to do that at all, but I just want to give the comparison.
Bananas are important.
They are full of potassium, right? But it's just to say that it is one piece. So even, and my goal in saying all that is, even if you don't know about the word Akashic and everything that it comes to, you told me that spirituality is really important to you. So you already know about the Akashics. It's just where everything is in that big place that you don't know of yet. But you are, if you meditate, if you take time to sit and breathe, to center, to anchor, to create balance, to create love, to connect with your intuition, your higher being, then you already are working the Akashic energy, and you're already connected to your higher being and probably your angels and guides in that space as well. So it's really not as complicated as some people might think, and we love to keep it simple.
Yeah. Wow. So how do you utilize the Akashic records when you work with clients with the Akashic records? What does that look like? And so the way that you just described it sounds that it almost sounds more like a soul, like it's just the thing that's always with us, encompassed, like it's just this energy or element that's with us. But I've always heard of Akashic records as being almost like a library you can visit.
It is.
That's like, that has like the records of I heard it's like an emotional library, like every single emotion you felt in every single lifetime as a soul, that's all kind of encompassed in one place. But I've never quite understand what the use of that is. Well, I mean, I guess because it helps you understand about this life, like why you're working through certain things or why you have certain hangups can be explained from your records. But yeah, but then, sort of describing it as something that's like the air you breathe. Does that mean that you're constantly accessing or connecting with it?
Yes.
Is it constantly
Yes.
influencing your day-to-day life and experience?
Yes. Yes. It means yes to everything that you just said. So the Akashic Records is a book, your soul book, with lots and lots and lots of answers about this life, other lives, that is found in a library. But the library is not just a place. The library is within other places. So it's just, that's why I was using, which when I look at it might not have been a great example, but that's why I was using the example of one banana in a big supermarket, where the Akashic Records is one thing in a much bigger space. So yes, it is your energy. Some people call it prana, some people call it chi. Yes, it is the energy around you. Some people call it energetic layers. It also connects with aura. Yes. Some people say, I'll meditate and I will have out-of-body experience. Yes. Again, some people will go to the library to go into the soul book. There's other types of books as well. The soul book is your biggest book. So the Akashic Records are found within this place. So to answer your question, when I work with a client, first, like before I came on with you today, I opened up the records for myself. So you have your own records, and if you have a business, you have your business records. So today, I wanted to open up my business records, right? Because my own personal records, I opened them earlier on, but I use them for personal healing and to download some information. So if I were, for example, to work with you and you had some specific questions, before I came online with you, I would definitely go in a space of meditation. So to open up your records, really simple. You just go in a place of meditation. And as soon as you feel that altered space, you're either in or you're getting into the space of the Akashics or the Akasha. Okay. Now, lots of people use that, but they just use different words, right? Mediums, channels, tarot, all of that. They still bring in that energy, and all of it, it has value because we're all different. So all of it has value. So if I were to work with you, Whitney, and you had specific questions, I would open up my business records and I would connect with you. This is all before we actually came on call together. And then we would chat, we would go online together, we would chat, and I would bring you in a meditative state. I would get you to open up your records, and then we would ask questions, and I would interpret what was coming through. You would get direct information, but because if you don't have a lot of experience with, let's use that same word, that language, then there's some things that wouldn't be clear. So let me give you an example. You're having a reading, and then the person is giving you the information, and then all of a sudden you go, oh, so that's why. That is you getting that download, receiving that download, and getting that clarity and understanding that language. The other person giving you the reading is just kind of interpreting the rest of the information that you don't know or that you haven't learned yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's why it's accessible to everyone. That's why sometimes you can wake up from a dream and go, oh my God, I understand that now. Okay? Aha moments, epiphanies, the light bulb going off. Those are downloads coming through. That's why we can experience paradigm shifts. That's why sometimes you're going to go to a space and you're like, I feel wonderful, right? There's something that is connecting you. Just because we can't physically see it doesn't mean it's not there. We're first and foremost energy and light beings in the body.
Yeah. Wow. What a concept. It's very multifaceted. I think the idea of the Akashic Records, and very fascinating to consider.
Yes.
I don't know if this is related, but I've had dreams where I felt like I was in a place that was so familiar and almost talking to someone or connecting with something. And all I know is that when I woke up, I felt like I left something that was so close to me. It was something so, just so familiar, such a strong connection, whether it be a person or a guide. And it was such a strange feeling to wake up and feel this disconnect from that, or this loss, or just kind of wonder, what was that? What was that, just a dream? Or what it felt like an actual, experience of connection with something. And I wonder if that's related at all to that
Absolutely.
kind of energy. Like if your whole library exists all the time, then it makes sense that sometimes you go in there and, look into that book that was once, your experience, your current experience, and now feels like, oh, this is the only experience I know. Me in this lifetime is, because that's how we feel on this planet, in this life, is this is all there is. This one book, and then it's over. But sometimes I've tapped into this sense, and sometimes it makes me very emotional. I've woken up crying when I felt like I was with something that it was like a faceless being. It was just an essence that it felt like, oh my gosh, I've never felt such a strong connection with something before. And then it was gone when I woke up.
So two things on that. When that happens, or when it will happen again, just stay in that beautiful state and ask questions. Just go for it. Ask questions. But you don't want to hold on to it like this. It's like trying to hold on to air. If you desperately want to hold it, It's just gone. It's not, because now your attention is not on the connection and on the energy, it's on keeping, right? So I absolutely encourage you, if that happens, just to stay in that energy and ask questions. Take advantage of it. Just ask questions and listen. Don't judge. There's no room for judgment. And in the space of the Akasha, there is nothing but love. There's space and there's love. And within the Akasha, there is the book. And yes, there's a process to bring it forth. And yes, there are different places in the book to go see different things from this life, from reincarnated lives, from your soul. So you get all the answers to your questions from that book. But there is all the other space. So what you're referring to was probably the rest of the space. You were somewhere else, connected. And you can definitely ask to do that before you go to bed.
Oh.
So it happens when you're sleeping. And it's like a muscle. The more you practice, the better you get, right? You're going to be connected more and more. Do you want to hear a really weird story?
Yes, I love weird stories.
This is so weird. So I was taking an angel class, and I have always felt a deep connection to spirit and guides, but not so much angels. I don't know why, but it was what it was. So anyways, I chose to take a class on angels, and I was like fully enjoying this class and just kind of eating it all up. So I decided to go to bed for the night. And before I go to bed, I follow the instructions that I was given, and I pray to the angels, and I say, thank you for being here and manifesting, and thank you for letting me see your manifestation, and so on and so forth. I go to sleep. I wake up in the middle of the night to go for a pee. And I come out of my room, and on the corner of my eye, I see the stove clock flashing. Now, normally that's not a big thing, but my stove has been dead for 2 years. 2 years. The only thing that would work was the stovetop. We have taken the stove apart. We had people come in and check it. And because of my eating habits, I didn't really need the stove anyways, but there were no breakers off. There was nothing burnt. We took the whole thing apart. We had people come in and try to fix it. The oven and that light hadn't worked for 2 years. 2 years. I come out that night and the electricity didn't go off. Nothing happened. I come out and I see that flashing. I'm like, oh, that really weird feeling in my stomach. I'm like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So I run to the bathroom and I run back in my room. I close the door and I go under my sheets because I'm freaking out. Really, really early in the morning, I get up and I go wake my son up. And he's like, what, Mom? My son is 60. So, a teenager is like, yeah, whatever. And I pull him out of his room. And I go, look. And he's like, what am I looking at? What am I looking at? It's, I don't see it. And I go, no, look at the stove. And his jaw just drops. Wait, what? What? Oh my God. And he backs up and he goes, how did that happen? And I tell him the story. He's like, he's freaking out. We go in the kitchen, we turn on the stove. The stove was working, and the stove has been working ever since.
Whoa.
Isn't that like the weird, like in my small home, there's really nothing that was broken except that. And it got my attention right away. And I have no clue what it could be because nothing else changed. No, I came down to see the breakers. No, nothing changed except that. So I'm like, okay, Okay, I'm good. I believe in you, angels. I'm good now. I believe. Sometimes things are so out of our intellectual understanding that we don't have a choice but to just go with it. That's why things like timeline therapy, not EFT, but the Akashic Records and those kind of modalities, that's why they work, because we take the conscious level of the mind, and because it's a game, it doesn't put up resistance. It just kind of steps out of the way. So we have access to the subconscious and the unconscious mind, and things can come up, things can be healed, and connections can be made, and we can access those other realms that sometimes the conscious mind says, that's not logical. It can't be like that. It can't happen like that. You can't do that, or you can't vibe this, or you can't manifest this, or you can't heal this. That is the conscious mind that is there. So the easiest way to push it is really when it becomes funny and a game, and then it just kind of goes, all right, you're just being silly. And so we can tap into other levels. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep. That sometimes it's just when we're at our most natural state and not overthinking things that we access avenues and channels that we can't always.
Like when you wake up in the morning from a dream.
Yep. Yeah. So Isabelle, you had mentioned something about doing a intuitive Akashic reading for the group, and maybe pulling a card, just seeing what you're picking up that you feel could be shared with listeners at this time.
I would love to do that. So I had put 2 decks right beside me.
Oh, you're all ready. Yay.
Yeah, I'm always ready. I'm going to go with the angel cards.
Okay.
And let's do a 3-card reading for all of us present and all of those listening and all of those that are going to listen in the future or again in the future. And we're going to do a 3-card spread. Let's do that. Okay, since the record's already open, and we're going to pull a first card on maybe what's in our way right now and what our heart is telling us, and then how to heal that. Want to do that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so that and that. Okay. So when I do readings, even if they're oracle readings, I always open the cards because the cards are just an extra. There's something physical I can see, but usually everything comes through before. When it's a group reading, I use the cards much more because there's different energies coming through. Okay. So, okay, so the first card that came through, and I love this, and it came in the upside down position. And even though this deck might not, I don't even know, I didn't look, might not use the upright or upside down, I do. So when it's upright, we're already in this energy. When it is upside down, it is energy that we want to align to. And the card that came through is really a little bit what is standing in our way when you hear this message, okay? And the card that came through is intuition and download. So let me show you. I don't know if you can see that. You see it? But it came in this way. So what is really standing? So whenever you hear this message, what is standing in the way right now of feeling the yumminess, feeling health, feeling wealth, feeling successful, feeling healthy, feeling vibrant, whatever it is for you, what is standing right now is not allowing intuition and downloads to come through, kind of being in your own way. So we're being called to open up, to just allow, right? It's nothing that we have to do. It's just allowing, removing that block, having faith, allowing it to come through. This information that wants to come through is necessary. And to bring healing to the heart, okay? Also a card that came in the protective position. So we want to align to this for our hearts to heal and grow. We're going to want to align to, let me show you that, Mother, Father, God, and the energy of that coming through. Okay, so I'm reading them individually like this, and then I'll just put them all together for it to make even more sense of what we want to align to. And to heal from that, I love this. Another alignment card. So right now, the energy that is really around us is us going towards that energy, kind of like stepping into the shower, but then turning on the water to have the shower. It's not enough just to go in the shower. So this third card is the yes card, but it came in this way. It's okay though, because that means that we're getting ready to say, yes, I want it. Yes, I'm going to go beyond fear. Yes, I'm going to listen to my body. Yes, I'm going to accept it in. So everybody has a past. Let's take the past of this lifetime. Everybody has a path. Everybody had good times and more difficult times. Everybody had different issues. At some point in our life, when we want to enjoy our life, we need to say yes to that, right? We need to say, okay, I'm ready to put that behind us. We want to be ready to let go of our old story to create a new one. So we can't be in two places at once, and we can't have two masters. So we can either stay aligned to who we were, or we can align to who we are or who we want to be. So if we want to align to who we want to be, instead of leaving that in the future, we can just bring that to here and now and say, for example, well, I want to be healthy. Okay, so how would I sit? How would I breathe? And how would I be if I was healthy? And we don't have to do that all day long. We can just start thinking about it. And then maybe we could do 1 minute, and then maybe several 1 minutes during the day, and just bring in that vibration. We can't stay connected to two masters at once. We cannot be in two places at once. So we're either staying connected to who we were, and if it's not empowering us, maybe we want to just let it go. And then connect to who we want to be and bring it here, who we are. It's just because it hasn't physically manifested in our life. But if it is inside, it is there. And to be able to do that, we need to pull in that energy from Mother Earth, pull in that energy from Father Sky, bring it into the heart, create that energy. It's already there. Just bring it more, bring those energies in, and allow the energy to come down, allow these downloads, these new codes, allow these shifts to occur. It can be scary. We know that, when we're learning something new, sometimes we go, oh my goodness, oh wow. Because the leap from one side to the other is scary, right? Because somewhere between the two, we're not touching either side. So it can be scary. But if we listen to intuition, right? And we accept those downloads, it's already there. It will guide us to where we want to leap. And once we've leaped, it's no longer in the future. It's right here and right now. So this is energy that we are aligning to. It's kind of step A, and step B would be this, but the cards on the other side. I love this reading for us right now.
Well, thank you so much, Isabelle. That was a beautiful reading.
It makes a lot of sense since we just had the 220222.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of moving into a totally new place.
Yeah.
Making that jump,
Yeah.
crossing over. But that transition's never easy.
No, but it does bring joy and hope. And hope is great. Heals so much.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. That was really, really wonderful. And this whole conversation has been wonderful. So thank you so much, Isabelle, for sharing your wisdom and your gifts with us and bringing some really amazing insights and information about the Akashics and naturopathy and naturalistic health and all of those things. It's beautiful. And how can people find you if they want to learn more about you, if they want to work with you? Where's the best place to go?
Okay, so, well, first of all, I want to say thank you to you and all the listeners, because it has been wonderful to be with you and your magic, because what you offer is amazing, to give a voice and to so many, and also to offer a space where so many can come in and find the resources and just fill their cup here. So thank you to you. And to answer your other question, I'm like super easy to find. So I'm really easy to find. They can find me on Facebook. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram, and you can find me on my website. Absolutely. On my website, if you go there, which is my name, Isabelle Giroux, and you just need to add an N and a D, .com. I can spell that.
Yeah. How do you spell Giroux? That's French, right? It's very Canadian.
It is French.
Very fancy.
So it's Isabelle with it. Isabelle, LLE. Giroux, it's G like George. IROUX. And then you add ND as my title for naturopathy.com. And on that site, you're going to see there's a free gift. So you can absolutely download that. It's there for you. If ever you choose to subscribe to my mailing list, I've presently have a free meditation. It's audio and video. So and if you can't find it, just reach out to me and I'll let you know. And I also wanted to say that if anyone would like a reading, I would be more than happy to do that and offer that at 50% off. So I have just readjusted my prices, but bringing them down because it has been so difficult for so many people, and people are looking towards inspiration and support and love and connection. So I just wanted to offer that. So I brought the price down to what feels a lot more comfortable in this day and time, but I'm still offering 50% off what is there. So if you saw my website last week, the prices have come down. So to any listeners, anytime, you can just reach out to me and let me know that you saw me with you, Whitney, beautiful Whitney, and it'll be my pleasure to offer any of the listeners a reading, 50% off.
What a generous gift. Thank you so much, Isabelle. And all your links will be in the show notes, so people can just jump straight to it if they have access to that. Thank you so much for being on the show. This was so much fun. Thank you for sharing some personal insight of our, I'm glad we got to kind of delve into our current situation and then go more esoteric into the Akashic Records. But what we're living in now is a part of the Akashic Records. We're in a moment that is very pivotal, that the 2 and the US Pluto's return, all these things are, when you talk about a powerful chapter in that volume of books.
Yes, very healing. And, if we just remember the reading that we had, it's just allowing that healing to happen. It's scary, but it's healing. So we just want to embrace it. And we're going to come out the other side so strong and empowered and shining.
Yes, indeed. Shining bright, shining bright. Well, thank you so much, Isabelle. Such a beautiful talk again, and just so inspiring to think about, so much to give us to think about the 4 pillars and about, moving into a new time in our life and really embracing it and thinking of it as an opportunity to have greater understanding and greater flourishing. So thank you again, and we'll talk again soon.
Okay, thank you, Whitney. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And I look forward to meeting you. Virtually or just through the energy.
Wonderful.